Hello, and welcome to the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. Each episode, we talk about a particular topic in the life of a professor. Ruth is a visiting professor at a large university in Ireland, and Claire is an associate professor at a primarily undergraduate university in Northern California. The purpose of our podcast is reflection, so we bring something we think is working and something we're working on to discuss. Welcome to the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. I'm Claire.
And I'm Ruth, and today we're going to talk about new course materials. But before we do that, Claire, how was your week?
My week was great. My birthday's tomorrow, and we just went kayaking for my birthday.
Oh my goodness! Happy birthday!
Fun. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we went kayaking. It was super windy, which was fun because we were like paddling against the wind. But then we also, if you were near shore, you didn't have to paddle against the wind as much. And we saw seals right up close on the shore. We saw this seal in the water, and we were like, wow, look at that seal in the water. He's heading straight for shore. Why is he going to shore? And then we saw there were seals on the shore already, and he was going to join them. So that was really fun.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you afterwards, was it in Big Lagoon, or where was it? But anyway.
No, it was in Humboldt Bay.
Oh yes, lovely. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, happy birthday. Yeah. I'm very glad you got born. Yeah, good job. Good job.
Me too, thank you. How was your week?
My week was good. I got to watch the students in the university where I'm working do their final year presentations.
Oh, cool.
And they were so cool. They were really good. I was very impressed.
That's awesome. That's so nice to see, the culmination of their work.
Yeah, and I think they have a really good program here where they've started in their third year, their second to last year, they've started having them do these mini presentations during labs where they even, it's kind of a pre-lab thing, so they have to come to lab prepared and then they have to do a mini presentation. But you could see it paid off so well because the quality of the presenting skills was really good, and just the level of oh no, is this student going to pass out because they're so, that wasn't there. So
oh, good.
I think, it was super cool. It was really, and it was interesting because it's really such a kind of cool, cool / awful moment for them, but you know what I mean? There's just something cool about it. I like seeing them do a capstone thing, and it was very good. So yeah.
So does that mean, is your semester over? Are they going off into summer?
Do you know, it's weird, right? Because they're going into their final exam review period.
Okay.
But because I'm working with the teachers, we're on a different schedule. So we're going for another month.
Okay. So they're done, but you're not done.
Yes, exactly. So,
cool.
Yeah. But it's really cool. And, again, it's one of those things where, we've had a mini COVID surge. Well, it's not that many, but... So I haven't been on campus as much, and it was really cool to go and do this thing with other people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad they were able to do that in person. That's nice.
Yeah, it's just a different vibe, and it was very cool.
Good.
It was interesting. Yeah, so tell me, do you have a quote for us for this week?
I do. It's from Mr. Rogers.
Oh.
And it's, "The greatest gift you will ever give is your honest self."
Wow.
And I've been thinking about honesty lately. And also I was thinking... we're talking about new course materials, and for me that means making them your own and figuring out how to make the class work the way you want the class to work. And so I was thinking that kind of fits in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So do you want to start us off with what's working for you with new course materials?
Yeah. So I guess I wanted to start kind of generally. So taking someone else's ideas and changing them to fit with my teaching style and my goals and what I see, my vision for the class and all that. And I guess I wanted to kind of contrast. I usually teach the analytical chemistry series, which I've been teaching now for 6 years, if you can believe it. And I originally took that class series, the person who had been teaching it before gave me his materials very generously, and I started pretty similar to what he had and have been making small changes over the years. And so, I added pre-lab assignments early on, and then I changed the amount of information that I gave them before they write their lab reports, and I made my own homework assignments, and I made the exams self-graded. So I've been making little changes. Yeah, the self-graded, that was cool. I've got another one of those coming up on Wednesday,
cool.
so that's exciting. So yeah, I rearranged the content and made small changes, but I've really kept the content and the general stuff that we're doing pretty darn similar in that case. But I do feel like now I consider it my own, even though
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely from him. So anyway, that's one example, and that's worked great. Another example is a class I've only taught once. It's called Earth Systems Chemistry, and the same person gave me his all materials, and in that case, I just had a different vision of how I wanted to present the material and kind of even what I wanted to present, for this topic, this class. And so I really changed it quite a bit. I got a different textbook. We went through things in different order, but I even think kind of different stuff. And it was all, we were both teaching Earth Systems Chemistry, but we were teaching it in very different ways. And so I guess I just kind of wanted to contrast those two things, where in both cases I was taking in the same person's courses, and in one case I said, okay, this is pretty, I can start with what he has and slowly make changes, and another time I said, okay, I just want to do this differently. I'm going to get a whole different textbook and just kind of start myself over. Yeah, and so in both cases I was starting, like even when I designed the whole class myself for the Earth Systems Chemistry class, I still felt like I've only done that once. There's tons of stuff I want to improve upon doing that again. And so in both scenarios, I was starting with stuff that wasn't really my own, like even though I created it my own, it wasn't there yet. It wasn't how I wanted it to be yet. So anyway, those are just kind of, starting with someone else's stuff and changing them to fit my teaching style is what's working for me. And I just wanted to highlight that it can happen totally different ways, but it still is working on some iterations towards being the way that I actually want it to be.
Yeah, that's so interesting because like I've had similar experiences where I had one course. So like obviously when I started teaching in a university where there was like 10 other sections of this course running. Do you know what I mean? So there was so many people were willing to share their notes and materials, and somehow it all kind of has cobbled together now to be like what I use. But like there's plenty of stuff in there that I got from other people. But I feel like you, I made it my own. But then I had an experience where I was teaching an upper division class for the first time, and there's someone at the University of Colorado Boulder who does research on physics pedagogy for that course, and that time I just took those materials and I just applied them. You know what I mean? Like completely. And then I had another time, like anyway, yes, so I'll talk about that more in the working on.
Okay.
But I think it's great to get a template, even if like you ended up doing, you're like, oh, this isn't what I want to do. Somehow just having the template is still really helpful. Like even it makes you focus on what do you want to do? You know what I mean?
I think so. I was like, wait, why don't I want to do this? What do I want to do instead?
Totally.
Okay, now I'm confident that I want to do something differently, Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
then
too.
the thing that like totally gives me the heebie-jeebies with courses all the time is pacing. Do you know what I mean? And so I think seeing someone else's pacing is really helpful, even if you're like, I don't want to do any of this. I think for some reason it helps me, avoid. I think we talked about it recently with the terrible first class, where like I had 10 minutes of material and I thought it was the whole class, but that kind of thing. So pacing is,
Oh my gosh. I always had like 2 classes prepared because I was like, but what if it only takes half the time I think it's going to take? And it always took twice the time I thought it was going to take. And anyway,
Yeah, but if you didn't have those 2 extras, it would have taken half the time.
Exactly.
So yes,
that's true.
That's how
right.
the universe works somehow.
It's like how you prevent it from raining by bringing the umbrella.
Exactly.
Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think having a template is wonderful, no matter what you're going to do, like in terms of, taking it on or not. And then, so I think that is super helpful. I think it's just energizing to try new things. So even we're talking about doing a whole new course, but talking about doing like a new portion or a new assignment or something, and then. Yeah, I think I have more to say on the working on. So that's my working. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Having a template is good.
Yeah. All right, so working on. So I suggested this topic because I'm currently doing a final project. I think I've mentioned it in passing on here, that somebody else made. And he developed it, 3 years ago, and then we had the pandemic, so we didn't get to do it for a while because it involves a field trip. And anyway, so now I'm doing the final project again. And I felt like I was struggling doing this final project. And I was like, wow, this is really hard. What's going on? And I finally realized what's going on is this portion of the class is like it's the first time I'm teaching it. And I took someone else's materials, and it's the first iteration of me trying to make them my own. And so it feels really different, and I kind of forgot, because I've been teaching the same class series 6 times. I've done all those iterations. It's feeling like my own. And then I was caught off guard realizing this part is not yet my own. This part is still, I'm trying to figure out how to make it my own. And so it's like I'm teaching it for the first time, which I kind of am. So I guess it's been really helpful to realize, oh, okay, this is normal. This is actually just how it is the first time you take somebody else's materials and try to make them your own. And I'm in the first iteration of figuring out what's working for me and what I'm working on in this particular final project assignment. Yeah.
Do you know, I almost want to put that in the working section, but like just to normalize that it's always going to be a bit uncomfortable the first time you run through something. Because I think, you know, and I think because you're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, I'm so good at this, and then you're like, oh wow, when you're doing a new thing, and yeah, it's definitely,
the students are asking questions, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that was going to come up, you know. Totally. And obviously you would if you'd taught this a few times, but you wouldn't if you hadn't.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, it's I've been feeling uncomfortable not knowing things that I would know if it was not a new assignment. So anyway, just realizing that that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you working on?
So, like, what I'm working on is sometimes I just need to pick a plan and go with it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, at the moment, I'm teaching a course which part of the course, I've never even taken this course before. So it's brand new. And I keep just flip-flopping around where I'm like, I'm using the materials. No, I'm not using the materials. I'm going my own way. No, I'm not going my own way. And the result is this, like, mishmash patchwork that, like, I think it's fine. It's not, you know, but it doesn't feel good to me. Like, it doesn't feel like, I haven't made it my own. But maybe I just shouldn't have even tried. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I should have tried to just follow. Do you know what I mean? So I know
what you mean. I mean, it sounds like the same problem I'm having, where I'm like, I'm following this, but I don't really like it. But I think I'm not following it exactly the way he did it. But maybe if I had, it, you know, I'm doing I think we're both trying, or at least what I'm hearing from you is you're trying to iterate and make it your own. But this is the only iteration you're on right now. You can only make one iteration. And yeah. And I think accepting that it's not going to be the final iteration because this is actually the first iteration. I don't know. So what's happening? So you're trying to you're trying to iterate. Yeah.
I'm trying to iterate, but yeah, it's just ugly. Do you know what I mean? It's not smooth, and I think the thing that I'm really struggling with is I'm having varying levels of depth. Do you know what I mean? So like I think I started out trying to really follow someone's stuff, and then I was like, this is too hard. So now I don't, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I just needed to commit to a pathway and stay on the pathway. And I feel like this, I think either just go off, like do my own thing or, you know, so anyway, that's been kind of weird. I think I needed to, but especially because I wasn't familiar, this is something I really struggle with, is like this kind of expert, like when you have enough expertise in a subject, like you can clearly see what's important and what's not important. But this, I think, and I'm getting better at it now with this topic, but at first I was like, what? Like it's all like, it just couldn't clearly identify what I actually wanted to do. Totally. So I think, I just don't know, and I don't know, the students, there hasn't been any major complaints, but I don't know how much my discomfort has kind of come through, if you know what I mean.
I totally know what and you know, so okay, I have 2 thoughts on that. The first one is, this Earth Systems chemistry class where I kind of I made my own version right from the get-go. I still don't feel like it was my own because I hadn't iterated on it. Yeah. But yeah, I had that experience where like I know a lot about ocean chemistry, but I don't know a lot about soils chemistry. So when we were at the soils chemistry section, I read the textbook chapter and was like, well, these sections seem interesting. Let's cover them. But I don't know if those were actually the most, like if you were a soil chemist distilling down the most important things, I probably picked different things. And that's okay. Which makes the other thing I was thinking is that you are actually doing one iteration. Right now you're trying this thing, which is going in depth on some things and less in depth on other things. And so at the end of the semester, you'll say, oh gosh, we really didn't cover chapter 7 as in depth as we should have. So next time I'm going to really figure out how to do chapter 7. So it is, you're trying to iterate. I feel the same way with my final project where it's like, gosh, I probably should have given them this information at the beginning. Can I still give it to, but no, that's okay. That's just what we're going to do next time.
Well, it's so funny. I wonder sometimes because I'm doing recorded lectures because it's it's blended, kind of asynchronous and synchronous. But sometimes I'm like, they must be like, is this a different person? Because when I get stuff that I know and I'm into, I'm like, oh yeah, hang on, and can just talk smoothly, and then the other stuff I'm like sound like this weird robot translator person, and so
totally.
Yeah, I think the other thing I put in here and the working on, and it's something. What I was thinking of, I'm thinking of a lot of house moving sort of analogies here for some reason. But the thing do you know when you go to a house and it doesn't feel like it's yours until you clean it? Do you know what I mean? And so that's kind of with the course material. But also, so I have just moved into a house and there's a couple of drawers that are like an actual disgrace. Like I literally want no one to ever see what's in them. There's one cupboard and when I open it, stuff falls out. It's ridiculous. But it's every time you move, you're like, I will only ever have this really well planned out house. But instead it's frantic. It's the day you moved. You just need to put the pasta somewhere, so you shove it all in one cupboard. And then it just stays there for however long you live in the house and you never change it. So sometimes that's a thing that I worry about, with courses where stuff gets set in stone because it's so much energy to shift it then. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And I guess the thing is, it's always small, gradual iterations.
Yes,
you're not going to
overhaul
the whole thing in one go. But I think sometimes I've adopted things that I've just adopted, and I don't necessarily evaluate whether I really want to keep going. You know what I mean? I'm just well, that's my thing now. That's where the pasta goes. So that's what's happening.
But don't you you're teaching the class for the second time? And you come to the chapter 7 that you didn't cover as in depth last time, and you're like, how do I feel about this? Was that okay? Maybe you decide, okay, we just don't cover chapter 7 as in depth here, and that's okay. I am okay with that. Or maybe you say, well, I don't have time to work on this right now, but I still think I'm going to make a note for next year to try to make it more. I think. I know. I bet you do little iterations.
But do you ever have I have one handout sheet, and every year I get to it and then I'm like, oh, this problem's terrible. It's really confusing. I shouldn't do it. And then I do the exact same thing next time. So pass the drawer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I try to, I small iterations, it's making me think of this one diagram that I had for instrumental analysis. It was about this specific kind of spectrophotometer. And the first time I taught it, I had these different symbols that meant they were the same symbol, but they meant different things, and the students were like, what the heck? And I was like, okay, let me rewrite it. And I rewrote it with different symbols, and I was like, okay, here you go. By next lecture, I was like, here you go. And then there was some other problem. Anyway, I just got to that section recently this year, and I was like, should I even teach this thing? I don't know. This has just been a problem every year. But I have been slowly, I'm not talking rewriting it.
Right.
I'm talking about, okay, last time this was a little bit of an issue. I like to leave myself little notes, somebody asks a question, I don't know the answer, I go look it up, I have the answer now, I tell the students the answer, and then I leave a little note for myself for next year when I still don't remember the answer. But I'm not saying I do that for every single.
No,
it's just
know
little things.
Yeah, I think it's just at the moment. It's just so telling that I'm teaching 2 courses, one that I've taught a million times, and every time I'm recording a lecture video for that, I'm like, ooh, wee, here we go, I can't wait. And it's just super, and then the other one is pulling teeth, and I'm just
You're okay, chapter 7, here's what we're gonna do. Yeah,
and it just never, I just don't, And I feel like I'm saying everything with the question mark at the end of my
I
word.
totally
Like just,
no.
yeah. So I think it's fine, but it's just, it's, yeah. But I think, again, that time that I had this great course that was like kind of provided by these physics education researchers, that was brilliant. And I really enjoyed that experience because like the materials were amazing and I had structure and like I just committed to it. And I think because it was so good, do you know what I mean? But yeah, this half in, half out, I just need to not do that again.
Okay. That makes sense.
So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Half in, half out. And I agree with you. Like, a lot of times it can be really hard to take someone else's materials and just commit to them. But if they do jive with you, like I remember seeing someone else's active learning worksheet for some instrumental analysis thing, and I was like, I love this. Now I'm going to use this all the time.
Yeah.
But, that doesn't happen with every single one. It happens only with a small percentage of them. So anyway, that's great that you had this experience with the whole course with...
Yeah, and I think, but like with you, with the earth science, like you sat down beforehand and were like, no, I'm going my own way. But I think I just have been elastic band, like bouncing between two different approaches.
Sure.
So
it was kind of easy, because once I said I'm using a different textbook, now I was committed to sticking with that other test. And the syllabus was like, this week we're doing chapter 1, this week we're doing chapter 2. So I was like, okay, anyway. But I do want to say, like, now that this is my, 5th time teaching instrumental analysis, I have been really excited that when students ask questions, we can kind of just have a chat about it, Yeah. And I know I've got enough experience with the material that we can have a chat about it and go off on whatever things they're thinking about it. And if we often come to something I don't know, but I don't mind going and looking it up. Whereas when it's the first time I'm teaching the class or the first time I'm teaching this final project, I'm not comfortable enough to have those casual back and forths. I only know how it works if I say it this one way. I don't know if, with the way you phrased it, might be still right. I'm just not as comfortable with the material. So anyway, I think it's just that this is the first time and it's okay, It's going to be as good as it is, and that's okay.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think it's really important to normalize that, because... like, especially with, I've been like, I lost my mojo. I just can't teach anymore. That's the end of it. So I think it's really important
to... It's a new class. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's how I was feeling. I was like, man, I'm cruising through this class. And we got to the final project. I was like, I just tripped. Like, what happened? I don't know what's going on. But we didn't lose our mojos.
No. Hopefully not. Yeah, no. Yeah. We just need to never teach new things. No, I'm kidding. Because it's really good and energizing to do it, but it's just... not easy all the time.
Right, and I think what we just need to realize and be comfortable with is that we're seeing things to improve that we will improve in the future.
Yes.
And that's okay that we haven't improved them yet, It's going to be pretty good this year, even though we can see all the things that are better,
I'm demonstrating that I don't believe in a growth mindset for myself, really, even though...
I know, that is a hard one. I have that problem too.
I know. I'm like, for you guys, yes, but no, not for me. So, yeah. But thanks a million, Claire. I think it's a really important conversation to have.
Me too. Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Professor Podcast with Ruth and Claire. We're delighted to have you as a listener, and we would love to hear from you. And if you want to email us, our address is contactprofessorpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any of your suggestions for future shows or professor quotes that you might want to share with us, or even just things that have come up for you when you were listening to previous episodes. And if you've been enjoying the podcast, we would love if you would spread the word. So the best way to spread word is by telling people if you think they should listen to it, or you can leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.